Hey, New York Jet fans from all around the world. Welcome to Laugh Through the Turbulence, a New York Jets podcast, the show that delivers you all your Jets content. Here are your hosts, John, Adden, and Monty. All the best to the New York Jet fans. J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets. Go Jets.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys? Happy, was it Tuesday again?
Yeah,
Tuesday, the 9th. Yeah, it's a really slow time in football, but we're still doing shows, so whatever. We're your hosts, John, Ed, and Monty. I'm fucking gassed. I golfed like hell today. It was fucking awesome at a private club. There were these two girls that were working there that we met once at the bar there, and I saw them in their golf country club outfits, and like even the guy who never met them before, he's like, my God, the turd cutter on that one. And I was like, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, let's hope I can get her number.
Oh my God. I haven't heard that one before.
Turd cutter?
No, haven't heard
that
one. No, that's new.
I'm surprised, man. You're an ass man, right? And it's not a stereotype that you're an ass man, right?
Kind of is, but
it absolutely is. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. let's move on.
Why? The stuff's all right, fine. Okay, so today, kind of to the victory on Monty's part. I'm teasing him now because I think he won. Since it's a slow time in the year, and all you fuckers out there love fantasy football. I mean, I do too. I just don't like talking about it. I don't like hearing about someone else's fantasy team in the league that I'm not involved in. Like, oh, I drafted this. No. I just don't care about it. But we're going to talk about the Jets and how they relate to fantasy relevance this year. And I guess the kind of way to do it, I mean, Monty, maybe you should start with like maybe a little bit passionate speech of what fantasy football means to you before we do this, right?
Passionate speech. I basically like fantasy football. It's something I enjoy, and this guy John here acts as if like it's the only thing I do with my entire life. Like I'm only in 2 leagues, dude. Like I'm not like I have friends that are in 7 leagues and shit. Like it's pretty insane. Yeah.
He's in 5. I'm in like 4 or 3.
Right, so what are you breaking my balls for, you jerk?
They're more. They're just a fucking annoying, man. You know, like
it's not annoying. I mean, if something you do, you should want to learn about it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like this podcast. You like going to Jets games and you enjoy the Jets, so like talking about it. It's same shit. This is not your team. You don't play on the Jets. You don't own the Jets technically, unless you want to count like being a season ticket holder. It's like, that's not really ownership though. You know what I mean? Like. Even if you were like a Green Bay Packer owner with some stock in it, then I guess maybe you could.
Right.
Did you see what they just announced, the Packers? Did you guys see the other day? They basically said that now you could smoke cigarettes and pre-rolled joints in the fucking stadium now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the players still can't smoke.
Right.
I mean, it used to be like that back in the day, I mean, I always rip this little thing, in the stadium, but back in the day, just sitting in the stadium, drinking a beer, lighting up a dart, great time, man.
Yeah, we should be able to. I mean, I get it, but it's outside. It's not like sitting next to 10 rows over from one guy who takes 2 seconds to smoke cigarettes is going to really do anything to you. But I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, so I guess we can start with
fantasy football. So fantasy. I am going to give you passions. No, I'm just kidding. Just for those who maybe are not as acquainted with fantasy, that might be listening. Obviously it involves picking players that we believe have a high chance to score points that factor into a great gaming system that's fun to be able to, dunk on your uncles and aunts and your neighbors and people you went to high school with and college with. It definitely makes for a good time. But, there are a number of players this year on the Jets team who, are very highly ranked on a lot of people's, fantasy boards currently, just doing a little bit of preliminary research. And I think we can kind of just go down the line and talk about it. I'll start with Brees Hall.
Great.
He's kind of the consensus guy. You know what I mean? It's like he's 2 years now removed from ACL surgery. He is going to be able to get the benefit of a full off season and be able to play a full season with no regulation on his snap count. So he should be in for a monster year. Upgraded O line. He won't be seeing as many stacked boxes because the wide receiver weapons have upgraded and QB has upgraded massively. A bunch of guys who are very strong run blockers. He was 1K, almost 1,000 yards rushing, and had five touchdowns. And then receiving, he was the number one receiving back in the league. So he's basically surpassed CMC, which is crazy to even think about, given the production that CMC does typically on a given year. He's still young. He's, how old's Brees now? 23, 24?
I think 23, yeah.
23, exactly. So, barring injury, I mean, Brees, knock on wood, Brees should be a slam dunk lock. If he's available at the pick you have in the first round, you take him. That's it. Like, there's not four running backs that are better than him by any objective measure, and I think there's probably maybe only one or two that are really better than he's set up for in this coming season. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brees is he's gonna be excellent, right? You see, just some mock drafts, some early rankings, and all that. He's almost consensus the number 2 running back behind McCaffrey, right? And the other thing you have to look at with Brees is that he's a true 3-down back. He's not one of these guys that's going to split time or has a veteran behind him. So it's right now it's him and 2 rookies, right? And Izzy. So he's going to get the bulk of the carries, and he's going to be the main guy in the backfield. So I think he provides a lot of upside there. And yeah, I mean, I think if you have a top 2 pick and you're in a total redraft league, you're going McCaffrey 1, Brees Hall 2, and either pick you have, you'll be happy. But if you have the second pick, I don't know how you can pass on Brees Hall. So I think he's going to be an exceptional fantasy player this year.
Yeah. John, you said you wanted to go by position group?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hijacked the whole thing for your discussion, but, you do that, especially when I fucking do, what's it called? My final thoughts, right? But anyway, all right, I'm going to just stop you guys here right now. Okay, so Brees is going to, he's the consensus number 2 running back. I mean, Coach Cole said the same thing too, right? It's all about the touches, right? Which is why he led the league in the receiving stuff, right? Because, they couldn't just run the ball whatsoever, right? But obviously, with these 2 guys, they got in the draft, do you really think that I don't think it's going to be as 3-down back as you think it is, right? I think it's going to be more 2-down back, maybe some short yardage, goal line situations to go to Allen, or maybe Izzy, if he's still on the roster by some means, is going to get some touches too. But they have a lot of talent at running back, and I think it's going to, Brees is a special talent, right? He's the second best running back in the league, in my opinion, right now, or third, right? In terms of pure talent, you have the ball and you have to juke out through one guy or whatever it is, right? It's Christian McCaffrey, and then it's some order of him, Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, maybe Chubb is a pure runner, right? But that's probably the group right there, right? If he's in the draft, I'm probably drafting him if Christian McCaffrey's off the board, right? Obviously, right? And maybe a couple of those top end receivers, depending on your format, right? PPR, half point PPR, right? I'm probably drafting him maybe in the 7 or 8 position right now, maybe 6, right? Just depending on the format, right? I mean, he's a special talent, but I think maybe that is overshot, right? Just because there's so much talent in that Jets roster. I don't think it's, although there are arguments to be made, they went so run heavy on the run blocking, right? That it's going to be run first, right? But that also, if it was going to be all him getting the fed all the time, then why would they draft 2 running backs as well, right? I think they're going to lighten his load a little bit in terms of, just percentage of handoffs, right? I think that's just the way it's going to be. So I actually think he's more of a mid-second round value. in the end at the end of the road, unless he just beasts out, right? But I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't really care because it's fucking fantasy, and it's fucking fantasy. So like,
For fantasy, that seemed like a very well thought out and detailed thing. Like
you guys
you just make that up.
Talk about it. So like, like if we're gonna talk about it, we're gonna talk about it. I mean, who the fuck cares? I mean, like anything.
You sound extra butthurt today. Do you need a hug, buddy?
Yeah,
I played really well today. I played really well today.
Yeah, but you don't seem like happy about that. You seem more mad about everything.
Oh, I just want to play more. I just want to play more. I was like doing practice golf swings, and like my dad's like watching TV right now, and it's like about golf, and I was like kind of getting into that right now.
You can't be grumpy that you can't play.
Look, all right. So like basically this. So basically, if Christian, so Brees is your first running back off the board outside of Christian McCaffrey, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Okay.
fair.
Yep.
Okay. I'd say he has I would say about 10% chance of being the overall RB1, right? That's fair?
Yeah. I mean, you got to look at who else is there, right? So it's Bijan, who's had a similar upgrade in his situation with a very good QB and, definitely different people calling the plays. So, Brees might be 3. Who else do you have? Let's see. That might be.
You say someone like Jahmyr Gibbs, but then there's Montgomery in the backfield.
Right, yeah.
That's his carries. And that's what I mean by more like a 3-down back. Is that like, yes, they did draft guys to come in and help lighten the load. But it's not as if, in important, crucial situations, you're going to be playing Braylon Allen instead of Breece Hall, right? So I think like that provides much more upside, just like with McCaffrey, right? And so it's definitely going to be interesting. But I think there's a higher percentage chance than 10% that he's RB1 at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if anyone has that upside chance, it's definitely him.
Real quick, we're gonna just stick with PPR, right, or half point PPR. Wait,
I think
choose one. Choose one right now. Choose one right now for the rest of the time.
Full point.
Yeah, that's
okay. Okay. Do you want to know where he ranks per PFF, which actually has ESPN's ADP in here too, which is interesting. They have him as the number 3 running back behind Bijan by a smidgen. But the ADP on Breece is higher. Yeah. Okay. And then but obviously Christian McCaffrey, just point projections, right? He's got 379 points for Christian McCaffrey, which is fucking ridiculous, right? And then Bijan, Breece, and Kyron Williams are in the 290-ish range. And then everyone's kind of well below it. Like Saquon 266, Gibbs 247, Taylor 234, and it just goes downhill from there. But basically what I'm saying is at this point, these wide receivers are projected to do way more, right? And depending on a lot of them are in the heavy 300s, right?
Yeah.
I think let's just say this. We're gonna do you're gonna choose Breece or this other guy, right? And leave your Jets bias away from it. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Obviously,
I don't ever have Jets bias. I actually usually skip over Jets players when it comes to
Yes. Very good. Okay, congratulations. Okay, you maybe did well in fantasy once before. Okay. So here we go.
I do well in fantasy regularly.
All right. Okay. Did you win a championship last year?
Last year? No. Did you?
No. Did you win one the year before?
2 years ago.
Okay. Me too. Okay, fair enough. All right, so obviously McCaffrey, you're taking McCaffrey over Breece, right?
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to go down the list. CD Lamb.
Over Breece, no. I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, I think to me this is a tough exercise because
well, we're talking about first round talents and fantasy, and we're doing it with Breece. So, who you take over Breece? Who are you taking over Breece?
I get what you're saying, but what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot less talent at running back that's going to be impactful than there is at wide receiver, right? You can get wide receivers later on that will be a smidge less than CeeDee Lamb, but getting them that are a smidge less than Breece Hall. Right, so that's the thing. It's the positional value. I get it that running backs have been absolutely devalued, but when you look at it from the standpoint of there aren't a lot of guys that will have the touches that Brees, Bijan, and CMC will, then you kind of have to give that a little bit more credit.
Okay, well, that's why I'm asking you the question on CD Lamb or Brees Hall. Who you take? You have the second pick. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Brees Hall second over everybody other than Christian McCaffrey.
Okay. All right, Monty, are you passing on Brees for CD Lamb?
Yeah. I think at this point I've played enough to where I know you got to get that running back early if you want him. So that's why. Do I think that Brees Hall is necessarily 100% guaranteed to be better than the receivers between him and McCaffrey? No, he might perform, a little bit less than those guys, but your dip, if you try to go receiver now and then who you're going in the next round for running back, that might be a bigger dip. And I'd rather just have that receiver because I play in leagues where guys go running back heavy.
Okay, whatever. All right, so basically I'm taking Lamb over Brees because wide receiver stays healthy, and that's just the way it is, right? I'm taking Tyreek Hill over Brees in fantasy because Tyreek Hill's proven commodity, and Brees is too at this point, but it's not healthy. I'm taking Jamar Chase over Brees. I'm taking Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow there, no question. Okay. I am 50-50 on Justin Jefferson because of that QB situation.
I agree. That's a tough one for him. Because, if you're talking Justin Jefferson with Kirk Cousins, then he's the first receiver off the board. Yeah, without number one overall, maybe even, right? So it's but that's really tough for him. I mean, Darnold or JJ McCarthy, that's a tough situation for him.
He got the bag. He decided, I'm going to get the bag. At this point.
Which, you would, right?
We've seen receivers be able to, kind of do well regardless of their quarterback. Guys like Terry McLaurin and stuff like that. They play on any team with any QB and they shine. But are you going to get first round, early first round value out of it?
Yeah, that's where I kind of draw the line. I think he's number 5 on the board for me at this. Now that I look at it, because St. Brown is next for this list. I kind of trust Brees more than St. Brown. AJ Brown, I'd rather have Brees. Puka, definitely Brees. I think Cooper Kupp is actually the receiver to get 2 rounds later.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people are going to overvalue.
I think that might be a good segue if we weren't talking about position groups, because we're going to move to Braylon Allen and stuff eventually in a minute, right?
Yeah, let's go to Braylon Allen, right? Okay. Yeah. He's a handcuff at this point, right? With high upside if something happens, God forbid something happens to Brees, right?
Agreed.
I'll take him in round 13. Fuck it. No one in your room, unless they're Jet fans, are going to know who the hell he is, right? It's kind
correct.
of
you might not. Yeah, he could go undrafted very easily.
Great. Okay, cool. Adnan, do you agree?
Nope, I agree completely.
Okay, wow, this was a fun conversation about Brees Hall. Okay. Let's go to the wide receiver room. Right? Well, fuck it, right? Okay. So basically, number 1 on the list is Alan Lazard, right? No, I'm just totally kidding. It's Garrett Wilson. He's a fucking stud, and he's gonna get a fucking, let's say I'd say wide receiver 1 overall is in play for him, right? I think Hill and Lamb probably are realistically just going to get it, just because there's going to be so many fucking mouths to feed in that offense. The Jets' offense, if they do things right. I just don't know. But I guess Garrett Wilson for me is like me. He can be a wide receiver 1 if you're later in the draft, right? If you draft the 10 to 12 spot, right? I'm saying 12 because that's a real fucking league. This 10 league shit is pussy shit, and 8 you just get a new life, or find some more relevant.
Play 12 or higher, that's it.
Yeah, but all right. So I'm gonna go through the wide receivers again. You're gonna say we're gonna figure out when we stop, in terms of draft Garrett Wilson, right?
Yeah.
CD Lamb, I think you're taking CD, right?
Yeah, he's the only guy in that passing game, really. Yeah. I would take
okay. Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
You take Hill. I think
you take Hill. Shut the hell up. I'm the Jets bias.
You take Hill. You take Hill. He's too fast. He's too dominant.
Okay, right. Jamar Chase. You take Chase.
Yes, you take
with Burrow, yeah.
Yeah, we've got Burrows there.
Okay. And Justin Jefferson?
No, I don't think you, like you said with the quarterback situation. I don't know if you
I
can.
don't know. The talent's really, really high.
Nope.
I
He said
know
Cousins.
Wilson's.
He said Cousins. I'd expect anything that Justin Jefferson does is going to be maybe 10% lower. It can do is 10% lower.
Because even though right, he doesn't have Cousins, he also still is that offense. Like who's a better offensive player on the Minnesota Vikings than Justin Jefferson?
Cool. All right. St. Brown.
Yeah, he's that offense
Yeah,
too.
he can be so good, man.
He's not that offense though. He's not that offense. That's a diverse offense.
No,
it's got Laporta. It's got him. It's got
James
Gibbs and Montgomery.
Yeah, but Goff throws a lot. That offense seems to run, very well in their passing game. Their offensive line is so great they can kind of execute whatever they want when they want to. And St. Brown has shown a really high floor over these past couple seasons here.
Cool start. Okay, cool, fine. So no one's so I guess you're going Garrett over.
I'll go St. Brown over Garrett.
There you go. Good boy. All right, cool. AJ Brown.
This is where I think you start to get to Garrett Wilson, because I think like AJ Brown is really good, but you also have other players in that offense. Jalen Hurts, I'm still not totally sold on him. There are games where AJ Brown does kind of disappear. I think with Garrett Wilson and having Aaron Rodgers, I think this is where you kind of start to see the tide turn toward Garrett over some of these guys.
Cool.
For me, it's AJ Brown, Puka, and Wilson are basically on the tier.
Back end wide receiver ones. Yeah, back end wide receiver one. Or middle wide receiver ones.
Yeah,
right?
I'm taking whoever's available. I would take Wilson just because I like the Jets, but I'll take any of those guys over any of those guys.
So I think with Brees and Garrett, I think they're both going to be overdrafted in all your leagues, right? I just think it is, right? Because they're Jets and it's the Jets, right? And everything's really kind of pointing in our arrow in terms of the hype and all that. So I'm probably going to avoid those two, to be honest, in terms of an overreach, unless they absolutely fall.
But I also think that's fair. But I also think it depends, like who's in your league, right? And like one of my leagues.
All right, let's talk not dumbasses. Let's say like you don't have your fucking like your mom in the league or your sister who just picks pretty names, whatever.
If you have some Jet fans, or if everybody in the league is from New York, right? That might be a little bit different in terms of like whether they'd lay off or not. I don't know, man. I just look at what Garrett has done the past 2 years with the worst quarterback situation in the NFL.
Exactly.
Like, I just think the sky is the absolute limit for him. I think that unlocks Brees as well. But you're right. If you can get Garrett Wilson later on and use a premium pick, if you're drafting in the middle of the round and you can get a Jamar Chase and then come back with Garrett Wilson, right? Something like that. I mean, you're in business, but I don't know. I think
it's not happening. It's not happening. Chase is like I'm just going by the rankings. Chase is like number 4 off this board, and Garrett's number 11. You're not getting both.
Whoever the names are, whatever the name is, wherever you're picking, if you can end up with Garrett Wilson as your, like you said, your receiver 1 in the top of the second round, I think you're in good shape, because you will end up with a stud somewhere else. So I just think that, I don't know, man. I'm really high on.
Well, you're supposed to know. You're doing a show, so
I don't know. I'm just saying,
Holy
I think Garrett is. I think he's gonna have a great year, and I think he should be gone by the top of the second round.
I think Garrett. What was Garrett at last year? He was at about 95 receptions for a little over.
A good stat line, a low end wide receiver.
So just add about
touchdowns worth.
You don't think Rodgers could give him a 30% lift? Rodgers plus an increased offense. I think the
touchdowns are there.
I think a 30% lift is within the cards for him, and that puts him at around 120 receptions for about 1,300 yards. And the touchdowns will definitely be there too in that case. So talk about 7 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns. Yeah, that's doable, and that's like top 5 wide receiver.
Okay. Let's say you're for some reason at the back of the first round, right? And we talked about the receivers already. Now let's talk about running backs and maybe mix in there. Let's say if you put Bijan in there, right? Are you taking Bijan over Garrett Wilson?
If I don't have a running back.
First pick. It's your first pick. First pick.
Oh, I'm not. So
No, but the pick is at the end of the round. You're saying, right? Like you pick like
your
10,
first
11, 12.
Okay, but so you're saying Bijan falls to that point?
Yeah, Bijan's available, and so is Garrett Wilson.
If Bijan falls to the end of the first round, I'm taking Bijan.
Okay,
I agree. I agree.
Now I'm going to do another running back, Saquon.
Because then you could probably turn around and still get Garrett. By the way.
Okay.
But no, I wouldn't take Saquon over Garrett.
Okay, cool. There you go. I think I draw the line there too. I take Bijan, but I don't take Saquon. Fair. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Great.
Not over, but they're similar. Yeah.
Great story. Okay, now I'm going to Mike Williams. Why not, right? Because that's kind of next, right on the list. And now, per some like ADP bullshit that I'm looking at right now, he's basically he can't be found on this fucking list. Holy shit, he's like a round 10 guy, basically. I think at this point.
Yeah, he's gonna be a later round guy. I think he's a guy that you gotta take a flyer on.
I think that's a better value. Spending that pick, like round 11 or whatever, Mike Williams. I think that's a better value.
I don't.
See about drafting fantasy. It's about getting value.
Correct. That's true, but I don't see the value in Mike Williams. I see, the talent's there. He's coming off of a serious injury. He might not even be ready to start the season, so you're going to miss him for a little bit, possibly. He kind of is already
super late. You draft him super late.
He is already injury prone. And there's a lot of mouths to feed, as you said yourself, on this test.
Yeah, but he's a late round pick. He's a late round pick. He's a late round pick. Yeah, sure. I mean, but there's value, and then there's just like hoping and praying for stuff. Like that's what it is at the end of the back of the draft, like the second half of the draft. It's all about
I'm saying there's too many things there to make him not likely to return that value. Whereas, for example, someone like Puka Nacua, being Matthew Stafford's, next up receiver, there was value there. People should have seen that coming.
Okay, you know what I'm going to propose here? I'm going to propose that we just do a fucking full fantasy draft at some point. Just 3 teams, 3 of us, right? And you have to fill like 3 quarterbacks, I don't know, like 6 running backs, 8 wide receivers, and some tight ends, whatever bullshit. I just don't care.
Let's switch gears just a little bit, right? Like I think we've the 2 big guys we've talked about. I think we can talk about Aaron Rodgers a little bit, and then maybe hit like a sleeper or 2, and then kind of move on to our next topic.
Good, let's get over that. Let's get this over with.
We'll be here for 45 minutes. Yeah.
All right, cool. Cool. All right, Aaron Rodgers, where are you drafting him? Where do you rank him in the QB rankings for fantasy? Somebody, Monty, why don't you go? This is your fucking stupid conversation.
That's not my stupid conversation. I put out a bunch of things, and it's your choice to pick it.
Where do you want Rodgers? Where do you want Rodgers? Where do you rank him in the QB rankings?
I don't know. I don't want to tell you if you're going to be a baby about it.
Okay, cool. I am going to be a baby about it.
Jesus Christ!
All right. Real quick, Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers?
Jesus Christ!
I'm going to go through the list. Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers?
I put Aaron Rodgers as he's probably about the 15th best quarterback in the league.
See, that's way lower than I think.
So go through Josh. So Josh Allen, no.
Josh Allen, no. Jalen Hurts.
That's a tough
current value, like based
fantasy
on
value. Jalen Hurts.
That is fantasy value.
He runs.
Yeah, probably Jalen Hurts.
All right, we're not doing Mahomes. We're not doing Lamar. CJ Stroud. He throws the ball, so that's CJ obviously Stroud. That. Okay, so not top 5. All right, cool. Now it gets interesting. Anthony Richardson.
I take Rodgers over Richardson.
I take him too. Okay, Joe Burrow.
I take Burrow right now.
Okay, Prescott.
I take Rodgers.
Yeah, fantasy. Prescott's garbage, but
that's almost a coin flip. You know what I mean? Like that's
fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, Jordan Love.
Yeah, I think Love.
All right, we got Kyler Murray.
No.
Kyler. I think Kyler. He runs and he.
Who's he throwing to?
Dude, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Marvin Harrison Jr. Listen, I think Kyler's. I think Kyler's good, man.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Good story. Purdy.
Oh, that's tough. That's a tough one.
He's too consistent.
Yeah, I think you have to go Purdy there.
Yeah,
got
see,
too
all
many
right,
weapons.
all right. Now the rookies are coming up. Daniels and Caleb. There's no way you're taking them over Rodgers.
No.
Wow, Herbert's way further back than I thought. Herbert,
You got to take Rodgers because Herbert has 0 weapons.
Zero now.
Absolutely
Yep.
nothing.
And and he
All right.
what has Herbert really done? He's got one playoff win.
Cool. Trevor Lawrence.
I think I'd have to go Rodgers, man. Lawrence, with all the talent, he hasn't put it together yet. So I think I'd have to go Rodgers.
Cool. Cousins.
They're both coming off the same injury, but Cousins was later in the season. So I'd probably have to go Rodgers there.
Cool. All right. Tua. Hawk Tua.
Tua's gonna put up more stats.
Fair. And Goff. Take Goff. Yeah, take Goff. Okay. That's it. And then after that, Rodgers comes up on the list. But we basically did 7. So basically borderline top 10 quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Because you have Stafford, Mayfield, Watson. I mean, I think Rodgers is a little bit above them just because that guy could be an MVP at any minute, right? Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, cool. That's it. And then all these other QBs are kind of garbage. Yeah. All right, cool story. All right. You want to do sleepers? Go ahead. Jet sleeper. What do you think? Are we just going to say Corley and that's it?
Well, I was going to say Conklin.
There you go.
I think that's a guy that can really provide some value later on in the draft. So I think that's someone to look out for. So that would be my guy.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I like Conklin a lot too. I mean, it's 600 yards. He's gotten better in terms of like yards per catch. He's gotten better in terms of total yards. But the touchdowns just haven't been there because obviously we had shit, throwing the ball for us. But I think he's a sleeper that you should be targeting if you go tight end late, like by design. I think that's a good guy to lean on because, like, if you look at Aaron Rodgers' history with tight ends, especially like someone like Robert Tonyan, who's not really that amazing or talented, he made Tonyan that one year look like Jimmy Graham. So, like, I like Conklin a lot. I also think that another good one might be, well.
No, you only had one. You only had one. Too late, dude.
I think Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen is probably another good one. He's a handcuff, but he's also a sleeper because number one, he might be being used. Actually, John, you alluded to this earlier. He might be being used as, kind of a AJ Dillon, type of back. Someone who does have some limited standalone value, especially if, for example, Breece Hall misses some time for whatever reason, maybe whatever he just goes down temporarily for a game or something.
Cool. I'm gonna go Jets defense. Fuck it. I think that defense.
One of the best defenses.
Not really sleeper. No, I think that defense can be like really fantasy relevant. I mean, it was these last couple of years, but really they were just consistent at being like 10 point within the 6 to 10 point range, which is great. But I think it's just too much of an opportunistic defense that, like, with teams going to be coming from behind. I think they could put up like numbers like a Baltimore Ravens or like a Legion of Boom, basically.
Like that year when I think the Pats defense was so good that they were like they were basically would have been a top like 30 player or something like that.
Yeah, cool story. All right, cool. I'm gonna change gears now because I'm sick and tired of fucking talking about this bullshit. Let's talk about late signing possibilities. Yeah, because fantasy's fucking stupid, dude. I'm sorry. For
why? Like what?
I don't get it.
I'll tell you what. I'll do one more. Who's the greatest fantasy Jet ever? Who is the greatest fantasy Jet ever? In terms of, let's call it value and just like, locked it in every fucking time.
Curtis Martin?
Yeah, it's got to be Curtis Martin.
For one season, I'm going to go Brandon Marshall just because he was drafted super late that year and like basically.
I was thinking of him too.
Cool. Awesome. All right, cool. Now late signing possibilities, not better stuff to talk about because that was fucking stupid. All right, cool. So the idea is coming up.
I still am trying to understand. I think the
Yeah.
crowd would want to know this too.
I
Like,
just hate talking
this-
about fantasy.
this
I just
is
hate
like,
talking about fantasy,
dude,
dude.
this is
I
like,
just do
this
it,
like,
and
this
I
like
just do my
fantasy,
thing, and that's
this
literally
like
it.
fantasy.
No, you don't,
2.0.
John, because you showed me your teams on the train to the game. You talk to me about your teams all the time during the
Yeah, it's because there's
season.
money on the line then. I'm
Yeah,
just like kind
exactly.
of
But
talking
here
this
we go.
about it.
But exactly. But you still talk about it. You don't
It's
just sit there,
fucking
mum.
July. It's July.
So
I
what?
don't
It's July
care.
for the NFL season too.
Right.
I know. All right, cool. Late signing possibility. So the Jets still have probably some room to do. This could also be / extension talk at this point, but like basically, like kind of what are you guys thinking that maybe the Jets could do to make this lineup even juicier or just I guess more well protected at this point, right? For injury, because it seems like everything's kind of set in stone at this point with who are the projected starters, right?
Yeah,
I think
you know, when I look at it, I think one of the things I don't think there's enough interior depth. You know, I think that's something that they really need to hit on. I know we discussed it a little bit earlier, but I think Connor McGovern would be a nice guy to bring back. You can get him cheap. He knows the system, you know, and he'll be able to just be, I think, a competent guy that can play guard or center. So I think that's really important. And then the second one that I had mentioned, which is just interesting, just kind of came about over the past couple of days, is Leonard Fournette. I know he's been, you know, banged up, not really been playing, whatever the case may be, but a guy like him, man, if Braylon Allen and Davis and Izzy don't look like they're ready to take on a role behind Brees Hall, he could be an interesting guy for some running back depth, you know, until those guys get back up to speed. So those are the two interesting ones for me. And still, man, I would maybe like to see a little bit something at safety, you know, because the guys they have are good enough. But if there's an upgrade to be had, I would like to see that. So those are kind of the three main things for me.
Cool. Monty, go ahead, bud.
No, I think we're fine. I don't think we need anyone else. I think we're in a good spot unless someone gets hurt.
Okay. I would go. Well, actually, I would probably kind of agree with Adnan on this one. I think interiorly, I mean, we talked about McGovern, right? Maybe just one or two fat guys just to go in there. But I honestly like the thing with I think they need to kind of go maybe young on this one and kind of maybe try to fucking develop since they've got some fucking vets there now, right? Just because like ABT is going to be going in. Oh, he's got a 5th year, right? So he's got one more year after this, right? Titman is in year 2, Simpson's for 2 years, but you know you're going to need some guys there. Maybe some more tackles. Who knows? Fuck it. But safety is probably the thing that like you can sign one guy and have an immediate upgrade impact player, right? So like you know, I mean Jamal Adams still there? I just wanted to say his name. I just want to say his name just for a joke. Jamal Adams still a free agent? Is he really?
I think he is, man. I think he is.
That's amazing.
He's still available.
Okay, but there is an AFC heavyweight emerges as a potential landing spot for him, though, and also the Bucks are looking at it potentially, which actually would be the most sensical one, right? Todd Bowles.
Yeah. I mean,
Todd Bowles drafted him, right? He did. He did draft him, right?
It was Todd Bowles.
He had him for his second team All-Pro year, right? But not his All-Pro or did he have? Yeah, and he didn't have him for his first team All-Pro year, right? No.
That was Gase that had him, right?
Yeah, Gase had him for that. Yeah, that was the Greg Williams defensive year where we thought maybe we got a guy here, and then it just fell apart when the Raiders threw a Hail Mary.
And he was playing man coverage.
No, he blitzed.
He blitzed and played man behind it. Yep.
Fucking, and you got Henry Ruggs, who we know can go fast, you know, because he fucking went 160 miles an hour and killed a couple people, right?
It's amazing, man. Like some of the things, but
I enjoyed that joke way too much. I did enjoy that joke way too much. What do you think he's doing right now?
He's in prison, man. Like, what do you mean? What is he doing?
No, I know, but like, what is he just like thinking? He's like, man, my 5th year would have came up right now. You know what I mean? like I fucked up.
Listen, I'm sure he has more important things to worry about in state prison. So I don't think he's I don't think he's worried about his 5th-year option right now.
I thought he. How big was he? Henry Ruggs.
I think
thought
like 5'10". He's not that big. I
Not a
don't
big
think.
guy.
5'11", right, and 188. Okay, not a very good-looking dude, so he's probably not first choice in the showers, if anything. But yeah, he probably. Yeah, I don't know. All right. Anyway, so I guess we can go to our next topic, right? Camp stories, lines that we like, right? I'm gonna just do that real quick. See everyone's camp storylines we like. Okay, so kind of what are you guys kind of hearing, from the training, just from the buzzing camps, right? That you're like kind of like, yeah, or like nah. Like, what do you guys like?
You want to go to Monty?
Someone go. God damn it.
I kind of am not as high on Corley as I was originally. I'm not like seeing that, he's getting the same kind of love that say like Gibson's getting. Like I hear a lot of talk about Gibson. Corley. I understand that he wasn't really a super polished route runner. He's obviously a young guy, but he might end up being kind of a little bit more of a gimmicky receiver, someone that we bring out on jet sweeps, we bring out on screens, we bring out for these trick plays, because for you to really do it at Debo's level, like Debo might really just be one of a kind.
Right.
But I hope not. I hope that because for me, like it seems like even though we haven't really seen Gibson with like a high powered QB like Aaron Rodgers, and that elevates everybody. I think the impression was that Corley was supposed to be at a higher, at a level kind of like higher than maybe someone like Gibson. Like Gibson kind of was supposed to be more to round out the roster, looking at the draft capital, difference and stuff like that. So, I want to see what ends up happening between Corley versus Gibson, and maybe even throw Lazard in there too, because it's hard. I as much as I talked shit about Lazard last year, and I was like kind of like saddened by how poor he played and how poor he performed. I think he could turn. We know what he can do, and people are kind of writing him off. So just kind of throw those three together, and I want to see like the storyline of who comes out on top out of the wide receiver battle and how that plays out.
I think one of the things that I think Nanny had said this when we had him on is that Gibson's improvement, which looks like he's improving a lot, is a solid story for the Jets, right? Because he does bring an interesting skill set. He is a fast guy, so I think that can be a good thing. The other thing, like when Corley was drafted, right, we have to keep in mind that he played at kind of a smaller high school. He went to a small school. Like, it's going to take time for him to adjust to the NFL. One of the things that, about him, he didn't run a full route tree, which you'll have to learn, right? Learning to read coverages, learning to play with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who expects you to know things right off the bat. So, there may be some time with Corley to develop, but I think he'll be useful throughout the season. But if Gibson can give them something, then that's a great compliment to the guys that they already have. So I think that's a good thing and a frustrating thing, but I think it will all work itself out as the season plays out. I think the one thing that for me that I'm just very curious to see is what we kind of discussed a little bit is like the Mike Williams timeline. I know everyone's saying he'll be ready to start the season, but it's like, man, you're playing week 1 at San Francisco. If he doesn't have a lot of practice time to gel with the offense, like that could be a rough first week for him. So I'm kind of curious to see how that plays out. But yeah, I think those are kind of like the receiver room is the biggest thing for me. On the defensive side, the only thing that really I look at is Will McDonald, right? Like, what is his role going to be? How is he going to play? Is Reddick going to be in camp? He better be. I think he will because, the fines aren't, reimbursable or waivable with the new CBA. So I think like that's all going to be interesting how it plays out. But I think it's going to be a very interesting training camp for sure. Lots of things to see, especially on the offense.
Cool. I heard good things about Lazard. I'm like I think he's gonna fucking have huge chip on his shoulder this year. I mean, the dude should be good at football. I mean, you know what I mean? Like he's fucking huge. Like that's the one thing because I think I mean if Williams is not ready, he's gonna be wide receiver too. On day one, right, against the Niners, right, and then obviously the schedule gets really light after that for a good little while. Rutgers supposedly, I think Rutgers look good too. That might be interesting because that could be more two tight end heads, which is why I'm not really as high on Conklin, I guess, because I think Rutgers gonna, especially with Conklin going this last year, I think Rutgers gonna kind of move into there a little bit more, and also his run blocking was pretty good last year, right, as it is. We already talked about Will McDonald a whole bunch. I mean, that's probably going to be fantastic. But Tyron Smith, I think, has been the standout, right, during this training camp so far. Just to know that is working, right? And, they're not even looking to add more pieces at tackle, I think is the most encouraging thing at this point, right?
Yeah, well, I agree. And I think, he's the biggest key, right, outside of Rodgers. And he stays healthy, he stays upright. I think this offensive line is going to be absolutely excellent. So there are some exciting things to look forward to for this training camp. So definitely can't wait for it to start. I think it's 2 weeks from today they report, I believe. Or I think it's 2 weeks from yesterday they report. 2 weeks from today is their first practice. So we're right around the corner.
How crazy is it that the Jets go by PFF? They made him they put him in the top 5 for offensive lines.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And they also, when you look at like where they did the AFC East, like build the perfect team from the AFC East, they had the Jets' entire defense and the offensive line. Like it's, which is great.
Could have been quarterback too, but you can't take off Allen yet.
I think that's tough right now.
Yeah, he may get exposed, this year. With a lot of lack of talent at the wide receiver. I mean, like, all right, Coleman and Samuel, right? That's it, right? And I guess Knox and Kincaid, right? But they really went all in these last 2 years, and they didn't
they suffered. So hopefully the Jets can take advantage.
I mean, that might be more James Cook show. Actually, that's a good sleeper. I'm going to give you James Cook. I think James Cook is primed for a bigger year, especially when Joe Brady took over. But see, like in fantasy, like I'm gonna just say one final thought on fantasy football, right? Like
here we go. I didn't want to talk about fantasy. Let's not talk about fantasy. Screw fantasy.
No, but the reason why it was stupid, it was I was kind of
Jets. Forget it. Yeah.
All right, shut the fuck up for a second. Right, you both. But basically, like you can't talk about fantasy because like teams matter obviously, but like talking about one team's fantasy impact, by players is just kind of stupid because like I don't ever really target one guy in fantasy, right? I just don't do it unless it's someone really fucking late and I'm looking for like a dynasty value, right? I am like literally looking at the board and just trying to see the value, and that's how you should always approach all your drafts. You shouldn't be dead set on drafting one guy, near a certain position. You should just be looking for value the whole time. That's the best way you could do the better. But I don't know. But the Jets O-line just being number 5, that was kind of crazy to me. The defense, obviously, like every unit is just fucking stacked. That's why I'm thinking like, hey, this could, like when I said fantasy sleeper, right? Jets defense could be like a historically special defense this year.
I hope, man. I really do. We deserve it.
It should be. It can be. I mean, this could be like. The only thing that's a concern a little bit is this thing with the run defense and the DTs after Quinnen not being so great, right? Like, I mean, it's a lot of first round talents, right? Kinlaw and Thomas, right?
I was going to say, I think Kinlaw is going to be better than you might think.
But the one name, our fucking boy Michael Clemens. Have you seen the workout videos on this fucking dude?
Yeah, no,
he looks savage.
Yeah,
he looks savage.
Yeah, no, he's always ready to go, man. So hopefully we can get a big jump from him as well because they need it. But yeah, I think
there's gonna be a moment in a game. Like, you guys ever see the movie This Is the End? It's with like James Franco.
That whole crew guy.
There's a scene in there at the end when Danny McBride just starts eating James Franco, and he's like, I'm a fucking cannibal. That's exactly what Michael Clemens did. Just snap at one point of the game and just start eating somebody. You know what I mean? And we're just gonna be like, "Jeez, don't fuck with Michael Clemens."
I think everybody already knows not to get in his way because he's
he's looking really, 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 really good. There at that point, just the workout videos just look absurd for him. But anyway, I think that's good, right? We're gonna go to final thoughts now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? Go ahead, Monty. Go ahead.
Yeah, not really much to say today. I think we, kind of went over some topics that some people weren't too thrilled about. So it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I think on my end, I'm just gonna keep saying it. I'm excited for training camp. I think it's gonna be really cool. Training camp is always great, but it's also kind of the most stressful 6 weeks of my life, hoping that nothing goes awry in terms of injuries or anything like that. But I think there's going to be a lot of intrigue around this team. Not a lot of roster spots up for grabs, especially, on the first and really the second teams in a lot of places. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of who fills out the back end of this roster as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, we have a couple of weeks, and football season is here until February, so we're almost there.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna just say this right now: early July, and late May. That stretch is the most boring time of the year for football. 100%. So if you actually watch this fucking video, like, comment, subscribe, please. You'll probably agree. You're itching for football a little bit, but we're almost there. But this is just the worst stretch, right? I mean, at least like during the season, it's the season, preseason, right? Even after the season, like we're already getting ready for the combine and stuff like that, right? So there's always something really like kind of imminent to look forward to, and then like free agency and all that stuff, right? So like there's things like kind of in the works that like help kind of keep the season afloat, but this stretch before training camp, my God, it fucking just sucks, right? Like I didn't even think about football like the last week after our show, And I was talking to Ric Flair about it, and he was just like, "Yeah, like trying to help you guys out, right?" And one of his rivals did hit me up, and maybe he'll make an appearance at the next show or two. So that'll be very interesting if he does. Probably 2 shows from now, since I'm going to be in fucking shithole Buffalo, just fucking signing contracts and stuff like that. But anyway, just for those Bills fans that we work with, right? I almost wanted to just rearrange this so we had fuck the Bills in the beginning, but I guess not. It's not the order of the operations. And I guess we could discuss this too real quick. Bills are the least hated franchise of these 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Cool. All right, so once again, I'm going to say fuck the Patriots, and someone's going to say fuck the Dolphins. And no, I'm just going to say it. Fuck the Patriots, fuck the Dolphins, fuck the Bills. Go Jets.
Go Jets. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.